So this is Jacob, Great Expectations, Part 4. And I'm going to give you a text, and we're finally going to get to it today, but it's way over on page 18. So hold your questions till the end. Genesis 32, verses 30 and 31. Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And he passed over Peniel. The sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Kind of looked at that a little bit last week. You know, here's Jacob coming back across, wading the river here. It's a spring day, and Jacob is wading that ford of Jabbok, and he's dragging his leg behind him. Comes limping into the camp. And the thing is, he's going to be limping for the rest of his life. Jacob considered a patriarch. So we got to look what's going on with this patriarch. I mean, I thought God was a healer. Now Jacob's limping, and he ain't never going to stop limping. What's up with that? Jacob. So we gotta go back and lead you up to this story here. I told you a few weeks ago this story was about the blessing, about the birthright. This thing that Jacob was wanting so bad, covenant blessing. And also we saw Jacob's lack of faith. Lack of faith. That's why he tried so hard to steal the birthright. Done everything he could to get the blessing. Even though it was already said, while he's in the womb, the elder shall serve the younger. He didn't have faith. That's why him and his mother Rebekah conspired to trick old blind Isaac. And they succeeded. Jacob, when he left the family in a mess. You remember it was a mess. I got a wife lying to her husband. I got a son tricking his dad. I got an older brother who's mad, says he's going to kill him. I mean, this family's a wreck. He left it in a mess. You know, I used to think when I read the Bible, I read about Jacob and, I read about David and all that these guys kind of hovered 2 or 3 feet above, God picked them because they were such great men. Shoot, these guys were a wreck. Mess makers. That's what Jacob was, a daggone lying, stealing mess maker. Patriarch, called a patriarch. I told you he wouldn't be allowed to join our church today. He heads out of Dodge with his brother want to kill him. Heads about 70 miles north, and he comes up on that little valley. He didn't even like to stay in the valley because he'd rather be in the tents. He ain't no outdoorsman. He's afraid to go down into the town, takes a stone for a pillow, has a dream, and finally he sees the covenant. The glory, the angels, the ladder, the angels ascending and descending. And he gets the covenant blessing. And now he makes a commitment. We talked about that a long time ago. He makes a commitment. And now he says, God, you'll be my God and I'll be your people. And, now he starts to walk in faith. He couldn't walk into faith up to that point because, guys, faith cometh by hearing. And if you haven't heard, guess what? You got no faith because that's the only way it comes. Faith cometh by hearing. So, but now he's heard, so now he starts to walk in faith. But here's like me, I can go and I can walk in faith, but I'm still a pretty strong guy. So, now I got extra strength. I got faith plus my own wits, my own strength. Yeah, man, I'm unstoppable. So he leaves there and makes the trick. You remember how we said, looking at it from this way so I can do my like Israel, Jerusalem would be over here. So, and Jordan would be right here. Jabbok sort of up here. So Jacob, when he left, he goes up this way, and he's going to go all the way back down over here toward the river Euphrates, back over to the land Ur of Chaldees, to where, and Laban would have been over in here. You know, that's where Abraham started, journeyed up. So Laban would have been here. So he makes that journey. So he's headed on to Laban. Laban, you know, that was more of Abraham's people. Terah, Abraham's father. That's who he was. And he goes out. And I'm just trying to set the stage. Went over a lot of this last week. So he comes to the well. You know, he's traveled all these days. Jacob's about 40 years old. And he comes to a well, and here's little Rachel right there. And, you know, we see the love story, but they never really put it in the movies, because I told you, Jacob's 40 years old. Rachel is under 12. Yeah, Jacob's under 12, and he runs up, rolls a stone away, and kisses her. So I got a 40-year-old guy kissing on a 12-year-old, and he loves her. I told you, they can't put this stuff on TV in the movies. It wasn't, you know, he's 21 and she's 19, and no, she's 12. He's 40. That's the way it was in those times. He falls in love. This old guy named Laban is Rachel's dad. Laban is Jacob's uncle, because it was Rebekah's brother. Laban, heck, Jacob got it natural, because he's, you know, where do you think Rebekah learned how to scheme? I mean, this whole family's a bunch of manipulators, schemers, liars. These kind of people that I always see like to, I don't know, they always want to heckle. They want to get something for nothing from you. I had an uncle to remind me of that one time. He used to come up and bum chew tobacco off of me. And then I'd look around, and he'd have a whole poke in his pocket. He'd say, well, yours is better. I thought, you old man, you're working. Or well, he never worked, but I thought, now I'm 16. I ain't got no job. Oh, yours is better. Yeah, always remind me of Laban. Tricks old Jacob, you know, gets him to marry. But he don't marry Rachel. Rachel, by the time they would have got married, she would have been about 19. Because he had to work 7 years. Well, he ends up, you know, and I told you about the veils and all this other stuff. He ends up, well, you know, finally waking up on the you know, night after the wedding, and it's this bug-eyed Leah. Yeah, bug-eyed Leah. Yeah, that's what it says in the Bible. She had puffy eyes, bug-eyed Leah. Nobody wanted Leah. You know, I can understand why. She got bug eyes. Stink bug eyes. Yeah. Stink bug-eyed Leah. Jacob's pretty mad now, and you know, he's got to work 7 more years for Rachel, and you know, he finally gets him, but I mean, it's Laban against Jacob. It's strength against strength. Mano a mano. Jacob starts out losing, then he starts to win, you know, strength against strength. He gets, you know, they start cutting deals. I tell you what, you give me the spotted sheep. Well, the spotted sheep's the most valuable, but, you know, they didn't have 2 a year. Well, you know, he goes out and he puts that stuff in the water, and all of a sudden, all the strong sheep start having the spotted sheep, and now Jacob it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I told you, Laban had other sons, and now they're starting to get ticked off because they're going to lose their inheritance. Jacob's getting it all. We ain't got nothing but the weak stuff over here. So Jacob he left over here a big old mess, and he's over here and he's causing more big old mess. Now his own brother-in-laws, they don't like him, and Laban's getting upset, and it's getting to be a mess. One day, Laban goes off to shear sheep, and now we got word he's going to be gone about 3 days. So, wives, kids, you know, he's got 11 kids at this time. Joseph, the baby, he's about 6 years old. So he gathers everybody up, the flocks, the herds, gets everything, and he's heading out of Dodge. He can get a 3-day start. The wife he loves, oh, I thought she was a good Christian woman. She's a pagan. She runs back over to her daddy's house, steals all his little gods, puts them in her camel bag, and down the road they go. Well, Laban comes back, gets word, you know. He's already upset that everybody's gone, goes back into his house to pray to his gods, and he ain't got no gods to pray to. I mean, surely it wouldn't have been his daughter, little precious Rachel. You know, she wouldn't have did that. Nah, she's a full-fledged Christian. She would. Here's the patriarch Jacob, 40-year-old, kissing on a 12-year-old, who's an idol worshiper. Oh, this sounds like stuff people I want in my church. I mean, you know, I told you they couldn't join the church today. We'd kick them out. Laban, he's mad. I mean, ticked off. He's in hot pursuit. Finally catches up with Jacob, but the night before he catches up, God visits him in a dream and says, "Let me tell you something, big guy. I know you're mad, but you better not lift a finger on Jacob." So Laban gets there. He starts off like, "Hey, why'd you leave so fast? I need to get a kiss of my daughters and my grandkids by. Why'd you leave so fast?" And then he says, heck with this. Let me tell you something. I'm ticked off. If your God hadn't visited me like last night, I'd take all my flocks back and all my kids and grandkids back, and we'd beat you to a pulp, probably kill you and leave you laying out here. If it wasn't for him, you know, so I'm ticked off. And by the way, y'all stole my gods. Now, you're supposed to be, you know, worshiping, and y'all stole my gods, and one of you did it, and I'm going to search around and find out which one did it. Jacob says, "But help yourself. Surely none of my people would be harboring these idol gods." Little did he know, little Miss Rachel, little Miss Innocent is over there sitting on him. Well, anyway, you know the story. So then it comes time to cut a covenant, because they just ain't going to get along. And that's it. They just ain't going to get along. They're too much alike. So Laban says, "Let me tell you something. Here's the deal. You promise to be good to my daughters, my grandkids. Don't you marry anybody else. And I'll promise not to come by this heap of stones here to do you harm." You know what I mean? And they would make covenants, so they ate and they struck a covenant and they set up these stones. And it's kind of funny how Jacob says it there. I don't know where it's at. It's in the Bible somewhere. Yeah. In chapter 31, verse 47, Laban called it Yegar Sahadutha. Yeah, I got that Hebrew not right. But Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, "This heap is a witness between me and thee this day." Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah foresaid, "The Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another." Now a lot of people, you know, churchy people, they read that and they'll say, "Mizpah, Lord watch between me and you." And really, what he's really saying is here, I can't trust you as far as I can throw you. So the Lord watch you, because I can't be with you 24/7. And I know as soon as I got my back turned, you'll be out to steal from me again. But people will say, "Oh, Mizpah, Lord watch between you." That really means I can't trust you. So Laban kisses his daughters, kisses his grandkids, and he heads back. Now Jacob was on his journey home. Remember, God had showed up to him and told him to head back, to go back. He's only supposed to have been gone a few days. Remember, his mom Rebecca said, "Just go and stay away a few days until Esau calms down." This guy's gone 20 years. Just go and stay a few days, and then all of a sudden, 20 years later, showing back up. 20 years have gone by. Jacob, he's on his journey. Now, you just got to get the picture here. He's had struggle after struggle after struggle. It's the kind of person he is. God's told him to go back. Can't trust Laban over here. Can't go that way, you know, because I know what kind of person he is. I'm kind of caught in the middle here. And I'm headed back to Canaan, where God told me to go. As he's starting to go, this great dread is coming on Jacob. This great anxiety. He knows he's going back home. He knows he's going back to what God had, the covenant promised inheritance. He knows he's going back to all that. But something is going on there that he's got to go face, guys, and it's called his older brother Esau. The last words on Esau's mouth to him wasn't, "Oh, I'll see you later, have a good journey." It's, "When you step foot back here, big boy, I'm going to kill you." Now, Esau meant what he said. He's a rough and tumble old redneck, deer hunting, beer drinking woman chaser. Yeah, drives four-wheel drives, goes mudding, got a shotgun in the window. "I'm going to kill you. You stole my inheritance." Now, I want you to get this. You stole something off of somebody. Just get this picture. You stole something that was the most valuable. I just want you to feel this. Let's say that you and your older brother, now girls ain't gonna understand this, but let's say y'all both had a crush on a girl. Now, she had been dating older brother, and younger brother comes in and steals her out from under his feet. Goes away for 20 years. How good do you think Thanksgiving dinner is going to be? You understand what I'm saying? And older brother ain't never went on. He ain't never went on. So I want you to understand, and he's a fighter. He just likes to fight. You know what I mean? He just runs around punching people in the eye at school. Just likes to fight. Jacob's got this great dread. Jacob's a rancher. He ain't a fighter. He's a schemer. He's crafty. He doesn't even know how to fight. He didn't go to, take lessons in UFC, how to be in the guard or any of that stuff. He's a rancher. He's going to get his butt whipped. More than that, he's going to get beat to death. How happy would you be to go to a place knowing we're going to beat you to death? Oh, thank you. Praise Jesus. I'm so glad. It's often I want to get beat to death. You'd have to be a weirdo. As Jacob is coming closer and closer and closer to the borders, can't you feel his feet getting heavy? Can't you see all the little kids running up in front of him? "Hurry up, Dad, hurry up, come on, we're going to go see your papa. Yeah, come on, yeah, this is going to be great." "Oh, y'all slow down. Don't be in a rush." You know what I mean? I can just see it. His feet's getting heavier and heavier. Look what the scripture says. In chapter 32, verse 1, "And Jacob went on his way." Can you see him now going on his way? Just let the scriptures take their time here. Jacob is going on his way. Can't you see? He's just, "All right, you guys are going a little too fast. Let's slow down a little, slow down a little." "And the angels of God met him." God is saying, "Jacob, you're mine. I know you're in this great fear and this great dread, but look, the angels even meet you. You had a dream a while back about angels ascending and descending. And a whole army," that's what this word is, a whole army of God's angels meets him. "Jacob, you're mine. You were in covenant. When you go to Canaan, the whole army of God will be with you." He didn't even think about it. This reminds reminds me of Mary going down to the tomb with Jesus. There's two daggone angels in there. One standing at the head of the sepulcher and one standing at the rear. Two angels, glowing, whiter than Snow White. Angels, two angels standing there. And she's like, where's Jesus? I'm like, you do realize those are angels. I don't care about the angels. Where's Jesus? Now here's a whole host of angels showed up, and Jacob just dismisses it like, God, I appreciate the angels. So he starts to think of it like it's two different bands, There's me and then there's the angels. Yeah. When I look at this story, now I got to ask this question. I don't know if you ever asked these questions. I got to ask you this question. What in the world did Jacob do to deserve all this? I mean, he was blessed on every side, and now he's coming back after he done stole the blessing, and still God sent him the angels to be with him. Oh, man. Jacob, you got to show me something in here Jacob did to deserve this. He had to repent. Yeah, that's it. He had to repent. Yeah. He said the sinner's prayer. It's somewhere in here it said the sinner's prayer. Nope. They must have left that out. You mean he didn't do the 10 steps of salvation? Good Lord. Jacob, what a mess. Why is God blessing him? Covenant. Covenant. God's committed himself to. Why does God bless you? Because you did the 10 steps of salvation, repented, and said a sinner's prayer? Covenant blessing. Because Jesus already did it. But see, that hurts my feelings because I got to add to this somewhere. I got to do something. Well, you just make a mess. That's what you know what you add to your salvation? The mess. You made the mess. That's what you added to it. You was the one that caused Jesus to die. That's what you added to it. See, that hurt. Where's boasting then, as Paul would say? Where's boasting then? Well, I thought I did the 10 steps. You might have drove the nail. That's what you did. That hurts her feelings, hurts her pride. But anyway. So Jacob, he sees these angels, but Jacob is still scared. You would have thought Jacob would have jumped up and said, all right, angels, Esau, bring it on. But it's no fact. Jacob's scared to death. He's getting more scared with every step he's taking. I'm talking dread. I don't know if you ever had any dread. I'm talking anxiety. I'm talking night sweats. I'm talking stomach tore up. I'm talking ulcers. So Jacob says, we got to do something here. All right, I'm going to get some fastest runners. He had a lot of servants and stuff. I'm going to get some fastest runners. I want you guys to head off and go tell Esau I'm on my way. So he's like, well, I got a few days, because that's a pretty long journey. It's miles. Well, heck, these messengers, they ain't gone but a few hours, and they show back up and they said, you know what? He didn't receive our message, but good news. Esau's on the way and he's got 400 men with him. Holy crap. Oh. You see what I mean? This is bad. Esau got word that I'm coming home, and he has done got 400 mercenary trained soldiers, and he's on the way. And as soon as my big toe touches Canaan, wham, I'm wiped out. That's where Jacob is at. That's where he's at. I mean, Esau's bad enough, but he's got 400 like redneck people with him. All of them got shotguns in them with them. Rebel flags. 4-wheel drive. Slinging mud. Here they come. Oh, yeah. I love this. In chapter 32, verse 7. Then Jacob was greatly afraid. I mean, the language here was super strong. Greatly afraid and distressed. He's tore up. He's flat tore up. I don't know, you just read them verses here. We just skip along, like, oh, well, Jacob was scared. I mean, feel it. Feel it. These words here, they open up his heart to us and what he's feeling. There's stress. You know what this stress means? It means there's no place else to hide. When I'm in distress, I'm looking for a place to hide. I can be comfortable with my fig leaves. I can still hide and get along with you, but I'm stressed out. Why? I'm exposed. Whew. Greatly exposed. I mean, isn't that what Adam did when he felt he was exposed? Who told you was exposed? Who told you were naked? You run and hid, but now Jacob, guess what? He's run out of places to hide. In Isaiah, it describes it. I like it. You can go check it out sometime. Isaiah chapter 28, it describes the bed as being too short and the blanket too narrow. You know, guys, I don't know why this is, but all you got to do is go to Walmart and buy you one of them throws. Because guess what? They don't cover you. I get mad. I'm thinking I'm warm and I want to stretch out. I'll stretch my legs out. Comes down to about my knees. So I curl back up or scoot the blanket down. It comes down to about right here. I mean, what kind of joy is that? People buy me a throw and I'm stressed out. Buy a blanket or buy two throws and sew them together. But have you ever had that feeling? It's like when, you're stretching out and your feet come out down there under the bottom and your feet's cold. But, you ever get into bed when it's real cold and you want to cover your whole head up? Sometimes I cover my whole head up, just leave my mouth out where I can breathe. You know what I'm talking about? But when the blanket don't work, you can't do that. There's no place to hide. This is where Jacob's at. There's no place, there's no peace. It's going to be a night, it's going to be a bad night. I just know it's going to be a bad night. My feet's going to be cold, and my head's going to be cold, and my feet's going to be cold. I'm just, I ain't going to be able to roll over. I'm going to fall out of the bed. It's too narrow. I mean, it's terrible when you fall out of the bed. Jacob's probably 60 years old now. He ain't no spring chicken. 60 years old. I want you to realize Jacob ain't had a day of peace in his whole life. Not one day. Not one day that he's just rested. I mean, this guy come out of the womb fighting. He did. He come out of the womb grabbing hold of his brother's heel. As a matter of fact, Rebecca had such trouble with her pregnancy, she went to God and said, something's going on in my womb here. Oh, there's two nations and they're striving one another. Jacob's been wrestling since he's in the womb. 60 years old now. He ain't had a day of peace. Jacob, you struggle with Esau. Jacob, you struggle with Laban. Your whole life has been a dadgone struggle. Anybody in here relate? I mean, I just wonder, has your whole life been a struggle? I mean, I never hear people say, I remember that year, that was a good year. You lie. Struggle. I just want to rest. I would just like to have one good night's sleep. Struggle. Overshadowing all of this was Esau. You wanted what Esau had. God gave it to you, but you haven't stopped struggling, Jacob. Everywhere you go, struggle. And up to this moment, you've always walked in your own strength, in your own wits, in your own ability to scheme, to get your way, to get what you want. Sometimes you won, sometimes you lost, but you're strong. And the whole time, Jacob, this covenant, God is with you and He's blessed you. He'll never leave you, never forsake you. He'll be your God. You're His person. You're His man. But somehow you always try to insert your own strength. You always end up struggling. Now you got to face Esau, big guy. Only this time one of you's going to be dead at the end of it. This is a fight to the death. I want you to understand. This ain't somebody's going to tap out. Esau already promised, when I get you in the ring, somebody's going to die here. I'm on page 3, 15 to go. I just wonder if y'all was paying attention. Jacob's scared to death. I mean, just think, he knew it was prolonged, but if you thought about tomorrow is the day. When I wake up in the morning, tomorrow's the day of the big fight. You're probably not going to sleep much just that night. Do you know what I mean? Esau, tomorrow, I've got to face Esau and his 400 mercenaries. So Jacob, he's scared to death, so he don't know what to do. I mean, he's a schemer, so he says, you know what, I got to divide my family up. So we'll put half over here and half over here. That's his strategy for war. I told you, didn't Jesus say a house divided cannot stand? He's going to war and he says, divide the house. Good idea. That way, if they kill some, the others can escape. Yeah. Old Jacob, patriarch. Then it says right here in verse 9, and Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, Lord, which said unto me, return unto this country, and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. He starts to pray, and it's a beautiful prayer. You know, you ever pray, and it's a beautiful prayer, but then at the end of it, you're like, I just well to slobbered in the floor. That's what my words feel like. You know? That's what Jacob did here. Because Jacob didn't have a bit more confidence in what he prayed to the man on the moon. God says, I'll deal well with you. You told me to come back to the land and I met the angels. But you know what? Rachel, you take 6 boys and go over here. Leah, you take the other 5 and go this way. I got to figure out what else am I going to do. You see what I mean? He didn't believe nothing. He just prayed. He's still trying to do God's work. He's still trying to figure out what's going on here. So he says, something's missing out here. He's desperate. So he says, you know what I'm going to do? I know how to get Esau. I'm going to send him a bunch of presents. Oh yeah, I'm gonna buy him off. That's what I do. I want to send him a bunch. So he uses his craft, his wits, and he says, I'll tell you what, I got all these servants here. So I'll tell you what, you take 30 sheep, you go off and give them to them. And then you wait an hour, and then you take another 100, you go, and then y'all wait an hour, and then you take another 100 and you go, and it says and a third and a fourth and so on and so on. And all he said, so man, what's going to happen? Esau is going to be looking, and here comes a gift. An hour later, here comes another. An hour later, here comes another bunch of gifts. I'm going to bombard him with all these gifts. And when you go, don't forget, when you go to bow down before Esau and say, Esau, my Lord, thou servant, little lonely groveling Jacob, has sent my Lord these gifts. Now make sure you do it that way. This is what Jacob's doing during this night. What's he thinking? Just maybe I can please Esau. Just maybe I can please him. Jacob has forgotten he's forgotten the covenant. He's forgotten the blessing. He's forgotten the angels. He's forgotten all that. He's got his family divided. He's got all the gifts on the way. And old Jacob heads back across the river. Now you with me? Now you know where Jacob's at. Family divided. Forgotten everything else. Gifts are on their way. Here he goes. Read verse 24. And Jacob was left alone. The Holy Spirit wanted us to know Jacob is alone. This man that was full of resources is out. He's empty. He's out of resources. Let me tell you what Jacob's mood would be like. I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but I just want to tell you what his mood would be. His mood would be he's lost everything and he's just checked in to the $3 hotel. He's got a pistol and one bullet. That's where he's at. That's where he's at. There's nothing else to live for. It's over. We'll get beat to death tomorrow. Jacob's alone, out of resources, no way out. No way out. I don't know how y'all read the Bible, but I want you to read it. Hear it, feel it. Jacob knows deep down inside, you can't buy Esau off. I know my brother. Esau, to him, life is cheap. Remember, he sold his daggone birthright for a bowl of chicken stew. Esau's held this grudge for 20 years, and the grudge has just gotten bigger. It wasn't like, oh, he'll get over. He ain't got over. He's waiting. He's got people up around the border waiting. If that little scoundrel Jacob ever touches foot back in this land, you let me know. And here he comes. I just got word back from a mercenary, from my messengers. Esau and 400 of these guys is on their way. We'll save him the trouble. Jacob's alone. Jacob's alone. Jacob prayed, but it felt like he hadn't even prayed. I mean, yeah, you feel in Jacob's mood here. This man has fought other human beings his whole life. His whole life has been a struggle. He's won most of his battles. He's strong in his body physically. We know that. Remember, he rolled the stone away. Told you it took 3 or 4 men to roll the stone away from the well. He does it, he did it by himself. And Laban wanted him because he was a strong guy and he was crafty. He was strong in his wits. And Jacob knows how to get his way. But here he is, alone, out of resources, ready to commit suicide. Sits on the shore and ponders his life. My life that's been full of struggle. My life that's been full of trouble. Everywhere I've went, it's just a mess. Everything I've touched is just a mess. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know if I'll see the light of day, but I know Esau, he's going to kill me. He remembers God told him to go home, and he prayed in his prayer, God, you told me to go home. I wonder if he's praying or asking a question. God, you do realize you're the one that told me to go home. Now Esau's going to kill me. And, you get to that point sometimes, the promises of God, they seem, maybe they're not for me. Maybe they're for somebody else. Maybe I just, was making it up as I go. I don't know. Maybe I didn't really see. I mean, have you ever got to that point where I don't really know? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I got no faith. I got no confidence. I feel like suicide. I'm all alone. God, I've got no more resources. I'm going to die here. Not a pretty death. I'm going to get beat to death. No sleep in the night. He's greatly distressed. Anxiety. Jacob is sitting there pondering, thinking on these things. I hear the stream of water flowing by. It's dark. It's pitch black dark. They didn't have street lights. They didn't even have streets. He's sitting there in the dark. Everybody's gone. I mean, there's nothing going on here. It's a spring night. So maybe some crickets and, some things are going on. And out of the daggone bushes, somebody comes and jumps on Jacob. I mean, get this. Somebody comes and grabs a hold of Jacob and they start wrestling. Now it's dark. He don't have a clue. All he knows is somebody just came out of the bush, bushes and is... Now Jacob's 60 years old, but he could wrestle. You know, he's pretty good at it. Because he spent his whole life wrestling and struggling. And now I want you to understand, Jacob don't have a clue who jumped him. You guys got the fortunate thing to read the Bible backwards. But what if you're writing this story of Jacob? Now understand, Jacob was sitting there. He's out of distance. He can't hear his wife and kids over here. He can't hear his wife and kids over here. The messengers has come back and said, Esau is on his way. He's got 400 guys. Now wait a minute, Laban didn't like me either. I told God to watch between me and him. I remember how he approached me. We made a covenant over here. Could it be he? He got by and said, I don't know. But I'm sure it's probably one of Esau's mercenaries that's going to show up and just kill me tonight. So he's fighting for his life. I mean, what would you think? Do you think he said, oh, it's God? He didn't think it was God. The old Jacob shows back up, the old struggler, right? He comes right back to the surface, and they begin to fight and roll in the dirt and trading headlocks and slinging each other off the rope and elbow drives and figure fours and chest chops and everything else. They're going to town. Well, you guys ever watch Monday Night Raw? I mean, come on. You remember I told you Ric Flair? Woo! Swing them into the rope, slamming. They're wrestling. Jacob thinks it's probably some bandit or somebody. I mean, I don't know who this is. But the scripture says there wrestled a man with him. It was a man. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't some monster. He knew it was a man. So Jacob began, as he always did, to pit strength against strength. His own strength against this man's strength. It's what he's good at. So they wrestled. Jacob's entire life was bound up in that night. His entire life had come to a head. His entire life would be summed up in that night. He grabs a hold of that man, whoever it is, just as he had grabbed a hold of Esau's heel in the womb. I've got a hold of you, buddy, and I will get from you what I want. Just like he grabbed a hold of it's Esau, it's Isaac, it's Laban, it's Laban's sons. They're all there summed up in this man this night. Jacob won't yield. He won't give up. I don't care how many times he gets slung into the rope. He's not giving up. He is going to win because that's what he does. He's going to overcome here. I mean, this is what they tell me when I go to church. You've got to be an overcomer. You've got to fight God. You got to fight everything, and you got to win. That's what Jacob is thinking. I'm going to win. Now the dawn is approaching, and I go to work a lot of times, and the dawn is just approaching. I can look out, and it's dark over here on this side, but then I can look and see a little purple over here. I know the sun, I can't see it yet, but it's starting to get a little bit lighter, and you can see the distance. The day is about to break. So the day is about to break. Now he still doesn't know who this guy is. He knows it's a man. They're wrestling and wrestling. And suddenly this man here stops wrestling, takes his finger, touches old Jacob's thigh. Jacob slings back, falls on the ground, begins to holler and yell and scream. He can't even move. He's in intense pain. He's helpless. And it occurs to Jacob, hang on there just a second. We have wrestled all night. Sometimes I'm winning. Sometimes you're winning. Strength against strength. But this man has beaten me. Not by strength here. He just touched my thigh. But I mean, some kind of miracle is taking place here. You just can't touch somebody's thigh and make it go out of joint. Something ain't right here. Maybe it's not a man I'm wrestling with. Maybe it is a man, but maybe it's not a man. I ain't really sure how could a man just touch my thigh gently through the night and wrestling. We touched every parts of our bodies wrestling around, but now he just with purpose touched my thigh and I'm in intense pain. I can't walk. I can't even move. It begins to dawn on him. I know who I'm wrestling with. I'm wrestling with the covenant God. I'm beginning to recognize here who I'm wrestling with. The God of the covenant. The covenant God has appeared as a man and jumped on Jacob. Did you just hear what I said? The covenant God has jumped on Jacob. Right out of the bushes, jumped on him. Jacob realizes that. Now, Jacob being crippled, he can't wrestle anymore, but he somehow manages to grab a hold of it. You know, I've seen them pictures, you know, like where somebody's walking and the little kid's hanging around their leg and they're dragging them. Y'all ever seen that picture? Well, this is Jacob. You know, he just grabbed a hold of this man. Now he knows who it is, and he's just hanging on. He can't wrestle anymore. The man says, "Let me go. The dawn is coming. Let me go." Jacob grabs a hold of him tighter. "I'm not going to let you go until what?
You bless me.
Till you bless me." Well, this is what he's been fighting and struggling for his whole life. Just bless him. Won't let you go. That's old Jacob. That's old Jacob. Even crippled old Jacob. All that Jacob said right there. "I won't let you go till you bless me." It summed up his whole life. It was right there. Jacob had struggled in his own human strength against other people. He had this lust after God. He had this lust after the covenant blessing. But now Jacob has no human strength left. Now all he's got left here is something that God praised him for from the beginning. He had this desire for God, his love and his longing for God. So Jacob just hollers out of that, "I won't let you go." "I won't let you go till you bless me." Now, this angel here, whoever this is, he says, "You know, I want to bless you. I really do. I want to bless you. But I can't bless you till you see who you are." I want to bless you, but I can't until you see who you are. I mean, we talked about identity crisis. It's a big old identity crisis going on here. So he says, "What's your name?" Now it says, and it says right here, "What is thy name?" And he said, "Jacob." I mean, that's just, you know, a little verse. You got to look at it. You got to feel the mood. So Jacob is hanging on to this guy. Says, "I won't let you go till you bless me." And this man turns around and looks at him and says, "Okay, well, who are you?" Because that's what it meant to a Hebrew to ask somebody a name. Just who really are you? What is your character? What is your nature? And Jacob didn't jump up and say, "I'm Jacob, guess who I am?" No, he just sort of whispered, "Yeah, you got me." This is what Jacob said, "Yeah, you got me. I'm Jacob. I'm the heel catcher. I'm the schemer. I'm the liar. That's who I am. That's who I am." You see what he had to do here? That's who I am, God. That's who I am. He whispered it back, his head down, and he says, you know my name is Jacob. I mean, I'm always there. I'm a heel catcher. I'm always trying to trip other people up. I'm always trying to get my way. I'm always trying to get what I want. That's me. All my life I've struggled to get my way. Didn't matter to me if I hurt anybody else, as long as I got my way. I had to have what I wanted. Just so happens that What I always wanted was you. And God, I've tried to get you with my struggle. I've tried to get you with my scheming. I've tried to buy you off. I've tried to do everything. But you got me, Lord. You got me. My name's Jacob. Just like the prodigal son. You remember the prodigal son? He went away. He didn't know who he was. The scripture says when he came to himself, when he realized who he was. I mean, when you get by whatever other people say about you, let me tell you something. We think, oh yeah, you got to let that go. Heck, people will say bad stuff about you, but people will say good stuff about you too. Oh man, you're a good Christian. You got to get by that. That'll ruin you as bad as easy as the bad stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, man, he reads the Bible, he can quote scriptures, man. He goes to church all the time. Who are you? The heel catcher. The struggler, the grabber. That's me. Even though, God, you've blessed me and you've been my covenant God and you've kept me and you've been with me, you've protected me, you'll never leave me. But that's who I still am in the midst of this. I still am the heel grabber. I'm still the tripper-upper of others. I still want what I want, even if it hurts other people. That's still who I am. See, when Jacob had admitted who he was when he came to himself, just like the prodigal did, when he came to himself, the man said, no more. No more shall your name be called Jacob. It's not who you are. I'll give you a new name. That is, I will make you a new person. Oh, Ezekiel, I'll give you a new heart, a clean heart. I'll sprinkle clean water on you. I'm going to make you a brand new person. Who are you? I'm Jacob. Now I will make you a new person, a new name. Now you are Israel. Now that's a hard name to translate. Israel. It's a difficult word to find out what God is really saying to him. But Isra, it means to prevail. It means to overcome. It means to fight and win. Listen to what I'm telling you. It means to fight and win. El means God. Israel. Scholars argue about this, but you can check it out. They ask the question, did God overcome Jacob or did Jacob overcome God? And I'll tell you, it's a bit of both. In the context, God says, I'll give you a new name, Israel. You've won, Jacob. That's what he's saying. Jacob, you've won. We fought all night long, and you know what, Jacob? I'm going to raise your hand. That's what they do when they harass somebody. They're going to raise your hand. And the winner is Jacob. You won, Jacob. You won. Because God don't need to prove nothing. See, we get this mindset, God had to whip him and beat him, so God can say, I'm the winner. I said, no, it's okay. You win. You with me? You see it? You win, Jacob. You win. Jacob, your entire life, you've fought, you've won with people. You're world champ, Jacob. You're the greatest wrestler, schemer, heel grabber that ever lived. You're number one. That's who you are. You're it. And just what were you after your whole life? Everything that you struggled so much for. What have you always wanted more than anything else? The covenant blessing of God. With Jacob, you've won. You have the blessing. But how did you win, Jacob? How did you win? I mean, when God, after all, he just touched your thigh. And it went out of joint. You're screaming over there in pain. He took all your strength away and made you lose. So how did you win, Jacob? How did you really win? You won by losing. I don't know if you get what I'm telling you. He won by losing. It's the only way it could be. He won by losing. Now Jacob will forever be weak. He'll no longer go about seeking his own way. He'll walk in a broken strength. Jacob is going, everywhere he goes now, he's going going to be leaning on his staff, dragging that old gimpy leg behind. That's the way he's going to get around from now on. I'm going to tell you a little something here. All of God's strong people, really strong people, walk with a limp. Every one of them. Now that sounds odd. Until my natural strength has been killed and I'm helpless, all I can do is cling to God and receive from God. Not by my own strength and my own trying. Only then, when I've been crippled, do I walk with God. Now see, that's odd. I mean, that's what he told Peter. Peter, right now you walk in your own strength. You go here, you go there, you do everything. But I'm going to tell you, when you get older, another will lead you and guide you. What's he talking about? Then, old Jacob, he's the only guy in the world that had enough guts to do this in the middle of all this controversy, night, wrestling. Hips dislocated, he's hanging on to the Lord, and the Lord's asking what his name is, and he's confessed that my name is Jacob, and he just got this new revelation. Your name is no longer Jacob, you're world champion Jacob, your name is Israel. Jacob busted out and says, well, what's your name? I mean, do you get this? I love these conversations that go on. He's like, well, what's your name? You who can touch a thigh and cause a man to scream in pain and dislocated. Who are you? And the response here, you got to go read this. The response here is, why would you ask me that question? Why do you ask? Now this angel of the Lord here, that's what an angel is, a messenger. This is a messenger of the covenant. I wonder who the messenger of the covenant is. This was Jesus. Y'all know it was Jesus. Let the cat out of the bag. The pre-incarnate Jesus has showed up. God the Son. And he shows up as a wrestler. You ever think about that? He jumped on Jacob. He initiated it. I've heard a lot of people say, well, you got to go wrestle God to get what you want. Listen, you couldn't find him to wrestle with him if you wanted to. Jacob wasn't looking. Jacob didn't go over in the bushes and jump on God and say, I'm going to wrestle and get my blessing from you. You know, this is what they'll tell us. You got to come boldly to the throne of grace, grab God in the headlock, and take the covenant blessing from him. Be an overcomer is what God likes. No, you've watched too many stupid movies. Heard too much stupid preaching. Jacob didn't initiate the conflict. God did. God jumped on Jacob. It wasn't Jacob wrestling with God to get something. God wrestling with Jacob to get something. God the wrestler. I thought he was Jacob's covenant partner. I thought he was the blesser. Look how God had prospered Jacob. Everything Jacob had touched had prospered. Everything, like Joseph, everything had all prospered. But God is not a genie in a bottle. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think, oh, I need a job. I think I'm going to go to church. People do that. I need this. Well, I'm going to start reading the Bible. I'm going to be good to God for 3 or 4 weeks, and then, because he's, you know what that is? That's witchcraft. That's I dream of genie. I'm going to rub on the magic Bible, and whoof, he's going to come up and say, what would you like today? A lot of money. Be good. New car, kids that paid attention. You know what I mean? And people think, well, no, we don't really believe that. Oh, yeah, they do. We think we can petition God, just like we petition the government. Sign this petition. We want to change these laws. So we think, God, I don't like what you're doing in this situation. I do have 417 names on the prayer chain. Get to it, God. Fix it. Gotcha. I mean, we do it, don't we? Got it on the prayer chain. And you know, in the middle of all this, and I know you might not ever come back to this place, but I'm going to tell you something. In the middle of all of that stupid thinking, God began that night, didn't he? If he thought it was God wrestling with him, he thought it was an enemy. God had become his adversary. Why is that? Because God loves us so much. And God desires to bless us, to bless Jacob, that he had to fight with him so that Jacob could really see who he was. God desires to bless you so much, he has to become your enemy. I don't know if you get a hold of that. I mean, we don't get this picture. God comes to Jacob on his darkest night, the worst night of Jacob's life, and God seemed to be his enemy. God, he comes in on the darkest night. And he has to come that way to bring my strength to kill it. Because my own strength, my own wits, my own ability are keeping me from the blessing of God. He has to come and kill it. So he has to come as an adversary. Now that sounds totally opposite, didn't it? We used to think sometimes, well, they're not too smart, so they can't really get the blessing of God. They're closer to it than you are. Because you're there in your own intelligence. And God has to bust your own intelligence. So he appears as an enemy. How does he appear? As a stumbling stone, as a rock of offense. Remember our lessons? That's how he shows up. God our enemy. God desires to bless you, but you won't receive the blessing until you got no more strength of your own. I've got to be made truly weak and helpless until I could be made truly strong. This whole life this whole night was Jacob's life in a nutshell. You ever ask the question, why did the pre-incarnate Jesus here wrestle with Jacob all night long? If he showed up at 8 o'clock and they're going to wrestle till 6 in the morning, why not dislocate his hip about 8:05 and save yourself the whole night of wrestling? I don't know how you guys think. I mean, I'm thinking logical. If you could have dislocated my hip, why wrestle for 10 hours? Because Jacob had been wrestling with people his entire life. 60 years. That's all he did was wrestle. So here God comes to him, and God comes as a man. And he reminded Jacob, you have prevailed over every man, Jacob, you've ever wrestled with. Go read Hosea 12. It tells you this whole story. What's he saying here? Jacob, you thought you were wrestling with Esau. But it was me you was wrestling with. Jacob, you thought you were wrestling with your blind dad Isaac. But it was me you was wrestling with. Jacob, you thought you was wrestling with Laban. But it was me you was wrestling with. Have you got people in your life named John Esau Brown? I mean, y'all look at me like I'm crazy. Do you have people in your life named Julie, Rebecca Smith? Where you're pitting your strength against their strength, and every day is another wrestling match? Every day you're mad with them because they got their way and you didn't get your way, and it's controversy and it's struggle every single day. You get a new boss. His name is Laban. He's changing your wages 10 times. Nothing's ever going your way. Come on. You guys must work for the greatest people in the whole world. They float to work on lily pads. Every day, I mean, when I talk to people, I hear the struggle. Do you know what they said? Do you know what they did to struggle? I mean, there's a rest left unto the people of God, but we don't get it. We don't get it. We can't put these pictures in real life. So we walk in this struggle. And we don't realize. We think, well, no, I'm not wrestling with God. I'm wrestling with that guy over there. God is telling you, no, you're wrestling with me. That's what he's telling Jacob. You're not wrestling with Isaac. It was me. It's not Esau. It's me. It's not Laban. It's me. God has took the place of the adversary. Well, do you not have adversaries in your life? Oh, we think, oh, so what do? We go around trying to cast out devils all the time. Right? All that time people's restless. Why? To show you your helplessness, but you know what? You prevailed. You won out. You got over on them. Today, you won. You prevailed. Tomorrow, you may lose. The next day, you may win. And it's up and down. It's struggle. It's struggle. And you know, I always think, you know, I've been on the railroad 29 years. I've been way up the food chain and way down the food chain. That's what we call it. But you know, now that I'm getting a little bit older, 40, don't laugh. You guys will get 40 one day. Yeah. But after I get a boss trained, you know, after I train up a boss the way I want him, they move him somewhere else and I get a brand new one. I got to train him. Y'all understand what I'm telling you? So just about when I get one to where I want him, he moves off. I got to start again. Struggle again. Y'all ain't hearing me. So here's old Jacob going in his own strength. So what does God do? He just whack. See, there comes in all of our circumstances where God does a twist on us, a reversal. We suddenly realize God's in this. Before that, we thought we were wrestling against people. We thought we were wrestling against flesh and blood. I mean, after all, they were mean people, right? They was mean. They were selfish, and they were in our lives. And my life would be a whole lot better, God, if you would remove those people out of my life. And then we suddenly realize that God is in this. I mean, do you know how many people are casting out devils and doing everything? I mean, there's a time to confront that, but not everybody you meet is the devil. They may act like it. How does God bring this to death? By showing us that when Jesus died, almost finished, bear with me, he took us, not only our sin. You got to get this. People say, well, Jesus died for my sin. That's him taking my sin to the cross. Well, he did that, but he took me. He took the Jacob, me, the struggler, the wrestler, the gotta have it my way kind of guy to the cross. And he nailed me to the cross with him. And now I see it. I am crucified with Christ. Doesn't mean I'm having a bad day. He has killed Jacob. Jacob is no more. Your name is no longer Jacob, but Israel. God doesn't redeem the old man. He didn't come here to clean up the old man. He didn't come to reconcile the old man, but make a brand new man. One raised up in Christ. It's no longer, then when it's yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. It's no longer the struggle. It's no longer me working. It's me at rest. I'm not living for my own strength. All my strength is dragging behind me in a busted hip. If I'm going to live this Christian life, how am I going to do that? Not from struggle. I'm going to live it because Christ is in me. He's made unto me strength. And listen to this. This may be the last verse. Verse 31. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose upon him. It's starting to be a brand new day. A brand new day. The sun rose upon Jacob. And Jacob is saying the word over and over and over. I mean, you got to understand this. He's dragging his hip, and he's coming back to his wives who are spread out over here, and he's walking back to them, and he's going through that water, and he's dragging that hip, and he's saying, Israel, Israel, Israel. And he's walking. I mean, I don't know how you read these stories. He's walking. He's saying it. My name is not Jacob anymore. My daggone leg sure is hurting, but I'm Israel. I am Israel. Jacob, the guy who was determined to get his own way, that guy's dead. I see the sun coming up. It's a brand new day. I hear the birds chirping. It's a spring day. I mean, what happened in the spring? Passover, a new life. I mean, it was death, burial, and resurrection happened in the spring. I just want to tell you that he's walking back up over here on resurrection morning. And he's walking back across this Jabbok, this river. And he's saying, Israel, because Israel is my son, even my firstborn. This day have I begotten thee. Israel is the resurrected Jesus Christ. You're Israel. And he's saying it. He's saying, look, he's put his spirit in me. So I walk up to these situations, and I walk up limping to the situations, and I say, you know what? I despise that person. But you know what? This will be a great opportunity for God to love them through me. And you know, I walk up to the situation saying, you know what? I'm going to limp up to the situation because I know they told me to forgive. And I jumped around like a deer, running through the field saying, I have forgiven everybody. Well, just wait till you get caught up in the fence. Wait till your hides tore out on the barbed wire. And then you come up and you realize, God, I wanted to forgive them, but I can't. I'm weak and my thighs all busted because I've been out wrestling with them my whole life and I can't forgive them. But there's a new strength here. You understand what I'm saying? We live in His strength. It's I live yet not I. This is what Paul faced. Guys, Paul would go around setting up new churches. And you know what would happen? These crazy people would come in and destroy the church. And they would write letters to people and say, you know what, don't listen to Paul. He's crazy. He's lost his mind. He got hit on the head. He's lost his mind. He ain't seen nothing. So, and Paul would pray. And Paul called these guys a thorn in the flesh. So Paul says, you know what? I'm struggling with these people all the time. I'm struggling. There's nothing but a struggle. So God, it would be really good if you would remove this thorn in my flesh away. And he besought the Lord 3 times, and that's Greek for over and over and over and over and over and over. It wasn't he prayed 3 times. No, it was, he's begging God every day. He's in this struggle. God, I'm really trying to do good here, to set up a church, and every time I do, these crazy Judaizers come in, and they kill a few people, beat a few people, tell them names about me, and destroy the daggone church. So God, it would be a good idea if you remove these thorns in my flesh. And what does God say? God says, oh yeah, great idea, Paul. That'll be a good idea. He says, no, Paul, you ain't getting it. You ain't getting it, Paul. My grace is sufficient. My grace is sufficient. Now look, what's he saying? Now Paul said, now I get it. When I'm weak, I'm strong. You see, if we do this, guys, we'll try to build the perfect family. But God will always leave somebody in your family to make sure you're going to limp. God will leave somebody at work that always makes you want to limp. And guess what? He always leaves people in the church that's always going to make you limp. Because, Paul, if I make it all perfect, you'll run around in your own strength. But guess what? Rest in the fact there will always be somebody there to keep you limping. Because in your weakness, my strength is made perfect. And I'm going to promise you, I'm going to give you the last verse right here. Romans chapter 5. Listen to this. Therefore, being justified by faith. What does justified mean? People don't believe this because Christians are justified. People are waiting on to be just. People are waiting on a judgment. We're not looking forward to judgment. We're looking back. And you know what the conclusion of judgment was? You're already justified.
Yes.
So there's no charge charges can be brought against me. Now, if I'm not a believer, you haven't faced it yet, but I'm a believer, so I'm looking back to it. So I am justified. How? By faith. And we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus. What does peace with God mean? It means I'm no longer struggling. I'm not in the wrestling match. No need for God to jump out of the bushes on me and weaken me. I have peace, no struggle. By whom also we have access, by faith, into this grace wherein we're going to get. No. Into this grace wherein we already stand. A brand new state of being. What is that state of being? Israel. 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 That's who we are. Anyway, we ain't done with Jacob. I'm just done for today.